Come out with us and play. Love your London. Have a banana. In today's instalment of Love Your London, we conclude our odyssey around Aldgate, Spitalfields and Whitechapel. We'll be talking about pubs, murderers, poverty, bagels and old rope. But first... Okay, so this is Osborne Street. This leads on to Brick Lane. Just thought this is quite cheeky really. This is a place called Jack the Chipper. Now there's usually there it is. Check out the skeleton over there. Actually, it's quite surprising that they've got away with the name. You may remember that Reclaim the Night, part of the women's lib movement, forced Jack the Ripper pub to revert to its old name, the 10 Bells, in 1988. This was in spite of the pub having close historical ties to the Ripper, as Annie Chapman drank there before she was killed, and Mary Kelly supposedly used to ply her trade outside it. People's sensitivities have changed. I mean, we've got Jack the Clipper up there, which is a hairdresser's. Yeah. There's the Jack the Stripper who does paint stripping. There's also, there's probably a Jack the Stripper who does something else as well. So I don't know, but I mean, it's just interesting because if the women's lib movement were as strong today as it was back then, I don't think this place would have lasted. Now, next place I want to show you here. Well, Bengal Pool Limited, as it is now. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, this is the place where SARM East Studios is, and Trevor Horn of Buggles used to run it. A major studio in the past. It's now a pool hall.
Lovely.
It was an amazing music studio. The Clash recorded here. Depeche Mode, I think, recorded here. ABC's Lexicon of Love, I think that the whole album was recorded here. So the Clash recorded the songs Pressure Drop and Complete Control here in 1978.
You're boring. Hurry up.
It's not boring.
It's boring. Hurry up. No one's going to want to subscribe to this.
Really?
Yeah, it's like rabbiting on about nothing.
But the Clash.
Who cares?
We have a lot of Clash fans.
It's a crappy old building no one cares about. I don't know why you're spending so much time on it, but there you go.
But we have a lot of Clash fans and they'll be interested. And you like Buggles, Video Killed the Radio Star?
Yeah, but I don't care where they recorded it. Certainly now that it's an accountant office, boy oh boy.
This is a pool hall, I believe, isn't it?
Exciting.
So why is this area called Brick Lane? Or the street up there called Brick Lane? Funny enough, as it says on the tin, this is where they used to have, there used to be a massive big kiln up in the 1400s, and there was brick earth underneath. It was perfect for making bricks. When the Great Fire happened in 1666, they needed an awful lot of new bricks, and the name just stuck because they used to bring all the bricks down this lane. I think it used to be called Whitechapel Lane because of Whitechapel over there, but it was renamed Brick Lane. And so that's why it's called Brick Lane. Okay, so we're outside Aldgate East Station. We've done Aldgate Station already in the very first episode, and we've done Whitechapel Station, but we left out the one in the middle. We've left it. Have we left the best one till last? I don't know, you decide. Aldgate East is in Zone 1. It's on District and Hammersmith and City Line, and it's not a 24-hour station. Now, and also, funnily enough, before 6 AM there are 2 Circle Line trains as well. Strange, but it just sort of confuses matter, but it's not an official Circle Line station. There's no toilet, there's no step-free access. They're pretty much a fair all around, isn't it? It's also quite confusing because when you get off late at night, and if you want to come off, get out here, this area is closed as it is today, and you have to get out right over there on Lehman Street, which is the one that's open much later. Bit of a pain because you're not really sure which exit to come out of when you get off the train. But this is also the exit that you need to come for if you want to go to Brick Lane Market if you're on the District Line. Now, I mentioned St Mary's Curve in a previous video. That's this curve that used to be
your safety and security, CCTV is in use 4 hours.
Okay, so I... Okay.
Speak to staff.
Yeah, there barely are. Let's go somewhere. Let's go stand in the by the gallery.
These days, when there are major railway works, stations get shut down for weeks and weekends on end. Now, this is an amazing bit of engineering. On Halloween 1938, this station was closed at night because it was moving to a subterranean only station, and this meant that the tracks had to be moved down by 2 meters. So during the day, 900 workers built underneath the tracks with the trains still running overhead, and then at night time they lowered the tracks down by 2 meters, and by the following morning, by the 1st of November, the trains were running on the new tracks. So that is an amazing piece of engineering. In one night they managed to move down all the tracks by 2 meters. It must have been pretty terrifying working conditions. Well, this would be unthinkable today, but obviously with health and safety regulations, it's probably good that it takes them a while, because I wouldn't be very happy about something that's not been really thoroughly tested. Anyway, so this is Whitechapel Gallery, right next door. Now this is a fantastic little gallery. The permanent exhibitions are free, as are most galleries and museums in London, thanks to Ken. It opened in 1901 and it's had some pretty amazing exhibitions over the years, including in 1938 when Pablo Picasso, his Guernica, came here as part of a protest against the Spanish Civil War. There's been some fantastic exhibitions here over the years. This is tomorrow in 1956. Mark Rothko's very first UK exhibition in 1961, and in 1964 there was a really important show called The New Generation, which featured pop art from the likes of Bridget Riley and David Hockney, among others. And this really kicked off the whole idea of the swinging 60s. All started really from here. And I actually came here in 2005 for an absolutely amazing exhibition of Robert Crumb, the cartoonist. Fantastic free exhibition I saw here. Okay, so we are here on the very atmospheric Gunthorpe Street. This is a very nice old alleyway, very old sign, Albert's. This used to be an old Jewish tailor's. It's now a vape shop, though it still does sell clothes. As you can see there, the Star of David up there and the menorahs underneath. Now the sign was designed by Arthur Zyk, that's S-Z-Y-K, in 1934 to 1935. Albert's was part of the Jewish rag trade and the name continued afterwards. Now this passageway is very interesting. In this pub, the White Hart, is where someone called Martha Tabram had supposedly her last drink. I mean, they say her last drink. It was 3 days later that she was killed, and I'm sure she had a drink between then and when she died. But it was her death happened here at the back of the pub. There were 11 unsolved murders of prostitutes between 1888 and 1891. Only 5 of them are officially connected to Jack the Ripper. They're known as the canonical 5. Martha Tabram was not one of them. She's not one of the 5, mainly because the modus operandi. She was stabbed 39 times in a frenzied attack, which wasn't like any of the subsequent definite 5 that Jack the Ripper committed. But of the 6 that have not been officially attributed to Jack the Ripper, the murder of Martha Tabram is probably the most likely to have been Jack the Ripper. Now, there is another interesting connection to murder and this pub. Underneath the pub there was a Polish barber surgeon called Severin Kozowski, and he was better known as George Chapman. He took the name of one of his partners. Now he killed 3 of his former wives by poisoning. He lived underneath this pub at the time. Now, he was one of the suspects, obviously, because he's a murderer, and Martha Tabram was murdered just behind, and so many other of the victims were murdered very close by. But again, it's not really his style, because he was happy, he enjoyed seeing his 3 former wives be killed with poison, and that doesn't really fit in with the modus operandi of Jack the Ripper. So it probably wasn't George Chapman either. But no one knows. I mean, there's so many people have been connected to the Jack the Ripper murders. There are tours that start from here, and there's so many Jack the Ripper tours. Now, I'm not a Jack the Ripper expert, I don't pretend to be. The experts are known as Ripperologists. Even a special name for them. If you want to find out more about Jack the Ripper, just look on YouTube. You'll find loads. Shut up. This actually used to be one of the worst streets in East London. This was a real slum. Doesn't look like it now. No, and the prices sure aren't that slummy either. That building I'm passing to my left is 4 Gunthorpe Street. We'll just have a look at it again from this angle behind the pub. Up there, zoom in, it says 1886, meaning this house was there the night that Martha Tabram was killed. Now, according to Zoopla, the average current price for a small 1-bedroom flat in this building is, wait for it, £700,000. Ouch. And in case you're wondering, even with regeneration, this is not a particularly safe part of London. I've often taken a shortcut through here after dark, and you meet some pretty seedy characters, trust me.
Yeah, they look just like you.
Okay, so we are now at Toynbee Hall. Now, this is a really interesting place. Now, obviously, London Open House this year was cancelled, or a lot of the things were cancelled. But assuming it's back on next year, I do recommend that you book yourself a little tour of this place and that place. This is Toynbee Hall, and that's Toynbee Art Studios over there. Behind me is Toynbee Hall, which opened here as a charitable institution in 1884. It's named after Arnold Toynbee, who died here in 1883, aged just 30 years old. And he's actually an ancestor, not a direct ancestor, I think a great uncle of journalist Polly Toynbee. Now, he was a social reformer who believed that the best way for the poor to better themselves was for the wealthy to live close to them. So this was the very first university settlement. It's all part of the settlement movement, which was an attempt to bring well-off students in close contact with the poor, while allowing the poor to use the facilities and the libraries and make use of free courses. In fact, there were, in the 1890s, there were 134 different courses that were taught here, and also free legal advice was given to the poor, and that still happens to this day. This is a Grade 2 listed building, and the pretty cool art studio next door with dance studios and piano rehearsal rooms, really worth a visit. And if you're a vegetarian, the cafe downstairs is really good and very environmentally aware. The milk they use comes from cows that fart a third less than other cows, and the crisps that they serve are by a company called Two Farmers, the only crisps in the UK sold in fully compostable bags. Sadly, it's all a bit closed at the moment, but hopefully not for long. So we're back near where we started our whole Aldgate journey, by the Hoop and Grate, that famous old pub. Do check it out, it's in the very first episode of our Aldgate playlist. This is, as I said, the pub that was a big survivor of the Great Fire of London in 1666. But we're just going to show you a little pub around the corner, which sadly is not so much of a survivor. It's a bit of a sad story, I'm afraid, to get the hankies ready. So, as today, the Hoop and Grate is just over there. There's Aldgate Station, and there's Aldgate Pump is just over there where we started off. This is Little Somerset Street. Wasn't always Little Somerset Street used to be just a bit at the end, but this particular alleyway used to be called Harrow Alley. Harrow Alley. But it was known by everyone as Blood Alley, because this is where all the butchers were. It was full of butchers. If you just have a look at this map now, you'll see, and we'll highlight some of them, are butchers' shops and slaughterhouses and cattle pens and everything all around this area. But if you see that little PH there in the corner, that stands for Public House. And this is the Still and Star. The Still and Star, as far as we know, the only pub in the whole country called the Still and Star. Star, probably from the Star of David. Still, because at the top there was a still making its own alcohol. This pub, well, it should be open right now. It's not looking good for it, I'm afraid. It's a very special pub. Well, first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about this area, and I'll explain some more. The reason why there's so many butchers around here is because there were tariffs to bring animals, livestock, into the City of London. Now, as I explained, just past Botolph's Church over there is where the City of London officially starts, at the pump, or at the Old Gate. And so obviously they had to find somewhere where they could butcher the meat, and it's relatively close to Smithfields and all the rest of London and all the restaurants, that it won't go off. So that's why there's so many. This was just rivers of blood here, of butchery, and right here in the middle was this pub. And the reason why this pub is so interesting is because it used to be a Victorian slum. It used to be a doss house where people would sleep. So it used to be a place where people would live, and then became a pub. Last one left. It's one of its kind. It would be a tragedy if this goes. Now, why is this pub closed? Have a look at this picture. This is the monstrosity that they want to build, and what they want to do to this pub. I mean, this pub should be saved because it won an appeal. There was a huge appeal, and in 2016 the City of London Corporation granted this pub the Asset of Community Value Status, or ACV, in 2016. So supposedly it was saved for generations. But in 2018 the developers made another application, and they seem to think that they can get around the ACV by demolishing the pub and making some kind of concrete cast of this pub and recreating it inside this monstrosity that you're looking at now. So in April 2019 they submitted plans to demolish the pub, and if you look at this map now you'll see this bit in red, that's where the pub is. In the comments below there's a link where you can make an objection, and just in case you can't find it, the reference number is 16/00406/FULMAJ, and if you go to the cityoflondon.gov.uk online website and you use that reference number, or you use the link that is just above the comments, you can, I mean, it probably won't help, but the more complaints you make, the more reasons you give why this should not close, the more of a headache that they have, and the more likely that this abysmal project is going to be stalled. I mean, just imagine Daniel Defoe got married in that church, St Botolph without Aldgate, over there. He wrote in this house. Imagine the history this place has seen, and it would just be disgusting if it went. Some things have to be said, and I'm quite passionate about it.
American money.
Yep.
China Girl, that's the artist.
That's right, China Girl tile. This is Whitechurch Passage. Used to be called Hatchet Alley, I believe, and then I think it became Spectacle Alley. Anyway, it's now Whitechurch Passage. This is lovely. This has been here since 2012, and it's beautifully made. Absolute work of art.
Yeah.
A little key there as well with her name on it, China Girl.
And she signed the shoe.
in the last episode, when we were talking about anarchy, we spoke quite a bit about Cable Street. This is Cable Street. Obviously different now. Back in the day, this was full of opium dens and brothels and all sorts of interesting places. Cable Street, the reason it's called Cable Street is because of all the rope making. This was there, obviously with the docks just down there. This was a major area for making ropes. In fact, there were roperies everywhere. We'll be visiting the location of one of the roperies when we do our Limehouse episode, because just down Bromley Street there was a very long ropery going all the way down from St Dunstan's Church all the way up towards Commercial Road. But this Cable Street, cable is another word for ropes, is a big long straight road, and that...
Slow down, I can't keep up.
I know, we're trying to beat the light. We're trying to beat the light.
Oh my gosh.
Because this is the last episode.
It's the last episode.
This is the last episode on Aldgate. We're moving somewhere else after that. So we're trying to finish this off today. Now that pub over there, this is the location, the cross just outside here, the Crown and Dolphin, junction between Cable Street and Cannon Street Road. This is the location for the last person to be at burial have a stake thrust into their heart. John Williams was accused as being the perpetrator of the Ratcliffe Highway murders in about 1812. It quite possibly wasn't him. It was very, very dodgy evidence, and it hadn't even gone to trial yet. He was in jail awaiting trial, and he apparently committed suicide by hanging. People thought it was because of guilt. It could have just been out of despair because he'd been stitched up. But the fact of the matter is, suicide was considered a huge sin, and back then, if you committed a sin such as suicide, you would get you could legitimately at burial have your heart have a stake put through your heart. And this was the location of where that happened for the very last time. He was buried upside down with a stake through his heart, as was the custom. In the late 1800s, the skeleton was discovered while they were doing works, and the skull was on display inside the Crown and Dolphin until, well, it's obviously not a pub anymore, but I'm not sure exactly when the skull stopped being there, but it was there for quite a long time. So actually, funny enough, there used to be a station here, a very, very short-lived station, called Cannon Street Road Station. It was on the line between Fenchurch Street and Blackwall. It was called the London and Blackwall Railway. There was only a station there between 1842 and 1848. Probably there weren't enough people using it, so it just got shut down. Back then there was this line had so many stations. There was one at there was one at Minories, and there was one at Shadwell, and this was one of the stations in between that got shut down. Later on there was a station on Lehman Street as well. Nothing left of the station now, but it was around here. Now we're just going to go around the corner and we're going to finish off this episode
right near our manor.
Yeah, we're literally a couple of minutes walk away from where we live. So we're on Pondler Street, and I just actually quite like the view here of the city of London, because all the buildings are so close together. You can see the Heron Tower, you can see the cheese grater, you can just about see the Gherkin. If you're interested in skyscrapers, Sharon actually did a little walk around the walkie-talkie, which there's going to be a link to it at the end of this video. You may not have seen it if you're a subscriber to our usual channel, because this was one of our specials, but if you're interested in skyscrapers, do check it out. It was just the view from the top of the walkie-talkie. It's not got the scintillating comedy that these ones have.
What are you talking about, scintillating comedy? Come on.
Well, you know, it's more factual. Our specials tend to be less comedic and
more intellectual. That's right, I forgot.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at what I'm telling you. I'm teaching you all about rope making and all sorts of stuff like that. This is intellectual channel. But here we are in this little playground, not far from our gaff. Here we go, Whitechapel Gardens community garden.
Oh, lovely.
It is lovely. I mean, there's lots of these little allotments everywhere around London.
Behind where we live, it's all like this. There's a couple city blocks worth of it, full of wildlife: foxes, rabbits, squirrels, rats, and drug dealers.
This is Whitechapel Gardens. Don't want to say that.
You can edit that out if you want.
Anyway,
let's go to the outdoor gym.
This is the outdoor gym, and this is where we're going to finish our episode.
And you want to come through the basketball court?
Yep. These are Whitechapel Gardens community gym.
Yay.
And I think it's a good place to sort of...
It's an outdoor gym. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Yay. Oh. Fast.
Okay.
Oh. I don't actually go on this very often. This is the first time I've been on this. You want to try it?
No.
No. Oh.
I'll try that one over there. That looks easier.
Okay. Your turn.
I'll try that one over there.
Oh.
There we go. That's more my style.
We can do a fast forward of this.
What?
We can do fast forward.
That's enough.
That's enough.
Okay, so let's going to finish off. This is, as I said, this is Whitechapel Gardens because there were ropes and you walked along them. And if you look at it, there were just ropes all over the place. And
yes, for the Thames is only a couple hundred meters from here, so
yeah,
all the boats and all the equipment, they used to make it right here.
So that is the end of Aldgate. That is a wrap.
Hang on. What about the bagels?
What about the bagels?
You said in the introduction that we were going to talk about bagels.
Yes, I did. Well, that's going to be a special extra episode, which will be out in a couple of days from now. We're going to be undertaking a highly scientific test to determine which of the two bagel shops on Brick Lane is the best. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it.
We are next going to Alexandra Palace. We're going to cover the area between Alexandra Palace and Muswell Hill. Not the area to the east of Alexandra Palace, but the area between Alexandra Palace, including the palace itself, and the beautiful park, and Muswell Hill. So, next week, look out for our new episode, and don't forget to subscribe.
Please subscribe.
We need you to subscribe.
We need you.
That's the only way that we know that we're being appreciated. We know we're being appreciated because people tell us, but they don't always subscribe. They don't always like our videos. Please.
I wonder why.
No, come on.
We can edit that out.
Anyway.
See you in Alley Pally.
See you in Alley Pally. Bye. From Acton Town to Wimbledon, from Brixton to beyond, come love your London with us and sing with us this song. There's no more smog, but we've a vlog to brighten up your day. Come love your London with us from Kew to Haringey. Come out with us and play. Love your London, have a banana.